Was it this awkward when you? No, no music.
No. We're the music.
Yeah.
We're the entertainment.
Like, that's why it's so nerve-wracking. We're like, okay, we're performing right now, dude. It's a podcast show, so it's like...
You have more experience than me.
All right, here we go. Maybe I'm nervous because this is the first time I'm doing a podcast, like, you know, with somebody that's just like, that I'm not around so often. You're also a content creator, so it's just like, yeah.
So it's a little bit easier for me, but...
Okay, here we go, guys. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. What's up, guys? This is Rick Productions. We're here on another podcast today with Holiday. Hi. Welcome, to guys. So, Holiday, thanks. I brought you in today because I think you're a very talented person. I think you're a very interesting person. And tell us a little bit more about yourself. Introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity and thank you so much for the comments. A little bit about myself. I am a YouTuber. I'm also an adult entertainer. I also dabble in a little bit into adult entertainment content as well. I'm also a professional and currently a fiance, and that's the surface level of me.
Congratulations. And thanks. Holiday did book Rick Productions for her wedding, and we're really excited to get into that. Stay tuned for that, guys. It is in sometime in August, so it's gonna be fun. And yeah, talk about the wedding process. How is it? What are the reactions? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, right? I'm sure you get this a lot. You're an adult entertainer, and when you tell people you're getting married, what are the reactions that you get?
First of all, they say the first question is, "How is your fiance not jealous?
Oh, okay.
Is he okay with that? How do you guys go about that?" And I will have to say I'm kind of an anomaly. I've met a couple of adult entertainers that are married, but typically those adult entertainers are also married or with adult entertainers. So like they kind of hold each other, kind of protect each other within the community. My situation is completely different. I'm getting married to like a corporate professional. It has nothing to do with the industry. But it is, it's different.
So you're saying usually people, they like when they get married with somebody, it's like they're in the industry and they're kind of in it on it together. Yeah. But you guys live total separate lives.
We live totally two separate lives, and we have different schedules, I guess you can say, and different type of stories to tell in the end of the day.
Does it take do you think from your perspective, does it take like a certain type of guy to be okay with it, like a really strong man?
Yeah,
or it's a strong-minded thing, right?
It's a strong-minded thing. I think it's mostly about confidence and also about the individual, because it's not just men, it's also women as well. So it's about having that person being confident with themselves, also have security, and most importantly, set boundaries and have like effective communication as well about that. And communication, it can be such a broad word. For me, it's about being direct.
Very direct.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I want to ask you first things first, of course, the typical question. What got you started in the industry, and like what inspired you? And yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. So it mostly came out of curiosity. Unlike other girls, typically the story is that the girl falls into the adult entertainment industry is based on necessity. Mine was just based of curiosity. I started dating older gentlemen at a really young age, which is how I got involved into sugar baby, sugar daddies. And at that time, like in mid 2000s, it was all the rage. However, I just really wanted to try something different, mostly just to explore like my sexuality and my sensuality. So I went into dancing and I loved it. The thing about it was that the way that I did it differently was that I still worked a regular job. So I viewed it more as a hobby. Later down the road, I made it my full-time job because I wanted to graduate from college really, really badly. So I took a risk, but it's always been like a hobby of me, like a hobby to dab into the adult entertainment industry.
I feel like it's very categorized when you say like you used to be like you are an adult entertainer, because I've worked with coworkers now, right? I also have my day job, and I worked with coworkers like government employees who like, yeah, I used to be an entertainer back in the day, like, and I'm just like, what? Like, really? Now it makes sense, right? But like, it's just like, is it kind of like, so during your day job, are you like a Batman by night kind of thing, like, or are you like, how do you keep the both separate? Is it hard?
It's really difficult because, you know, number one, I have to kind of set boundaries with my coworkers of what I can and cannot say. Like, what did you do over the weekend? Do you have any plans for the weekends? Also, so I have to be very limited with my words. People want to follow me on social media, and I tell them I don't have a social media, or I'll tell them like, no, I don't add coworkers on social media. But definitely, it's for me, it's very difficult to set boundaries because I'm a very friendly person. But I usually just stick to Monday through Friday. And then when Friday, Saturday comes, that's when I become the alter ego of holiday.
That's amazing. You know, that's interesting that you say about social media. Like when they ask you, can I get your social media? Like, no, like even for me, like I've heard a theory that you're not supposed to give people your social media, especially when they first meet you, because it's like they judge you entirely based off your social media. And this is coming from me, right? A photographer on the side. And it's just like, I've had friends at work, I feel like, that like I'm super cool with, right? And then they like follow me on social media and they see all the things that I do.
And they become opportunists.
Yeah, either that, which is great. Like, come on board. You know, I need help. Rick Productions needs help, right? All the time.
Yeah.
But it's even worse when it's just like they start acting different.
Yeah.
You ever get that? They start acting different?
Oh,
like,
yeah. Especially with me being an adult entertainer. So within like my corporate life, I've always... I always say that I was born to be a leader. I was born to be like in management or operations. And so I kind of climbed the corporate ladder. And typically what happens is that when you're telling people what to do or you're giving feedback, people take it personal. And I've seen it in the past. I've had experiences in where people find out and they'll try to use it against me. And to me, that's more of a personal issue. Yeah. And at that point, I'll be like, well, you should be a little bit more embarrassed because how is an adult entertainer telling you what to do?
There's a lot of, there's a lot of like heat that you get. I think it takes a strong person to become an adult entertainer, especially. You want me to open that for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, you have One interesting fact about Holiday is that me and Holiday both share the same exact birthday.
Yeah, we're both Virgos.
we're not gonna mention the birthday because we have all the cyber dudes like trying to figure us out and stuff like that. Still our identity, but we have the same exact birthday. We are both Virgos, which is very interesting. I've met most business people that are Virgos. They're usually Virgos that are business people.
Yeah,
right?
they're typically Virgos or Geminis.
Geminis.
I've had a couple of Geminis, but they're very difficult to work with, at least within my experience.
You're talking about like with other Virgos and Geminis, or
no, at least with me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I know we're tapping into the astrology. I have to, right? There's a woman on the show and they were talking astrology and Rick knows a little bit about that, right? Because it's funny. And from my like perspective, I feel like when you go through dark times, like all of a sudden, like you become very religious and you become like, you start looking up the stars, like you want to see answers everywhere. So I started getting into like astrology in my toughest times. And I'm just like, what's gonna happen to me today? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, that's interesting.
But that's very Virgo because we like to be in control.
Yes.
And we like to know everything.
Perfectionists, you know, it's a good thing and it's a very bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, we never get nothing started unless, you know, like we do it right. And it's just like, it's just gonna take forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. I have a question for you. What is it like working with Rick Productions? I'm gonna tie it back to the photography world real quick.
Yeah. Well, first of all, like I love that you're very professional, and besides being professional, you're very friendly as well. Like I've worked with photographers in the past, and where like I can feel like their demeanor is very like full of ego. They're not open to feedback, or they have like a very, I guess they're not open to different themes. Like I've worked with one certain photographer, which I stopped working with then, but for different reasons, in where this photographer really wanted to shoot or do videos of a certain style. And I was like, hey, I understand that this is your brand. However, like, I think this is something new, and I think will bring more audience and bring more fans. But they were not open to that. So with you, that's what I like about you, is that you're very open-minded. And if and I can talk to you about those things.
We definitely like unique projects here at Rick Productions. So it was really unique when you hired me to shoot your engagement shoot. And then you're just like, okay, I'm a dancer, but I'm also in love, right? So it's just like, oh, how do I mix that into a video, right? So when I delivered it, I'm just like, okay, I got to get ready for the feedback. I'm submitted it and like, hey, like, more sexy, more love, like, it was a balance. And it's just like, it was interesting working with you. And I like that you were very direct, but also respectful. You're like, hey, you know what? I think.
I had to apologize. So I was like, this is my fault because I didn't give you directions. So let me guide you.
You legit, like, like pulled out in the jar, just like a dancer and getting married. I'm just like, whoa, okay. Like, it was interesting for me, but I love those kind of projects. Yeah, I love that you were direct with me. I have another question for you. As a photographer, what do you think would be the correct way to approach, like a female model as a male? Like, because obviously there's like, you have to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, does our portfolio speak a lot about us as well? Like, what do you guys look into a photographer before saying, yeah, I would like to work with you?
Well, it's really, I guess it depends on what stage the model is at. Like in the beginning, when I started getting these opportunities, I would say yes to everything. To everything. To anyone. And it created great stories. And some of them, it did not create great stories. But it's always just good to just follow and like a couple photos and say, hey, this is who I am. This is the photos that I work. This is the photos that I've done. This is the models I worked for. And this is the theme that I think that we should do. I think having a plan actually allows more room for conversation than just say, hey, let's shoot and let me know when your ability is, because
more structure, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's definitely something I need to work on. I try to do everything myself, and it's just like I'm very hard-headed. So like today we showed up, we're like, hey, what are we gonna talk about? I don't know. We're just gonna do this, right? I was just like, we're gonna lead each other, and whatnot. But I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for coming to the podcast. I remember you told me some horror stories about working with photographers. Yes. Do you want to share like a horror story?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously I'm not going to mention any names, but there was this photographer that he had a very specific theme. He would actually shoot girls at, it seemed to me that it looked like a parking lot or like an industrial part. I ended up finding out that it was a parking lot. And so, he had, he liked to photo shoot girls with a bunch of oil, bikinis, and same thing. He was just like, hey, you know what? Like, I want to shoot you. This is what you can, this is the place. This is the time. And it looked very professional. But the thing is that I forgot to mention that my fiance was going to be there. I always take my fiance at every shoot. And the reason why is because he's the help. It's not more so of a safety issue. It's more of the help because I need help to, head over there and carry the bags and, sort out the
Let's be honest, like safety issue or not, like there's no apologies behind that, right? It's just like if you're inviting a woman over to shoot that doesn't know you, it's just like they have the right to bring a +1.
Exactly. So it turns out that he had an issue with it. Like my fiance came out of nowhere and he was taken aback and he started fidgeting and the vibe was completely off. And he was very direct in saying like, is that you didn't tell me that you were going to bring your boyfriend?
Oh, he told you that.
And I was just, and my fiance at that time, he was just like, we already done so many shoots. We've already done so many, like, I already started doing my OnlyFans at that time. And my fiance's like, I understand that you have like really bad experiences with other boyfriends. However, like Holiday is a professional. So like, I don't see why that will be a problem. But later on, I end up finding out that there was a lot of accusations against him that he was, I guess, like pimping out girls and he like assaulted a couple girls.
Wow.
So that was the allegations. I never heard it from another model. I've heard it from other photographers. So I was just like, well, that would explain as to why he might have been upset of bringing my boyfriend to the set.
Wow, that's interesting. You see, like, oh man, I think I need to start separating my work because I love these podcasts. We dive really deep into these topics, and it's just like I do love, and then I also like reality. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, how do you tie that together? But I bring that up because that's, I don't know how to say this. I'm very professional, guys.
Yeah,
you heard it here first. Testimonial from Holiday, but I feel like being a photographer is like, with great power,
it comes with great responsibility.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's just like a photographer, you know, like women like that. Women love creativity. Women love like you bringing something to the table. And I feel like photography and videography is one of those things. And it's just like, in my day job, I get women approach me and they're like, hey, like, can you shoot, like, could we do like a boudoir? Yeah, a boudoir shoot. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I've always wanted to do one of those things. Like, yeah. She's like, oh, for sure. And then she's just like, I'm like, so like, I don't know. It just starts to get like more like, you get the vibe. And I'm just like, wait a minute, like, are we really doing this shoot, or are you just trying to get me in the room? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm the photographer, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's interesting. It's weird how like you have to be very direct and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why I always recommend photographers that if you're going to approach a model, no matter what stage she is, you should definitely come with a theme so it shows what your true intention what your true intention is.
Like actually board out something.
Yeah, like a mood board or like reference photos or videos. And because that would actually set the tone.
Set the tone for the shoot.
For the shoot, yeah.
It shows how serious you are, how professional you are for the shoot. All right. Do you have any questions you want to ask me as a photographer? You have a photographer
when
here?
When did you start it? Who did you learn from? What inspired you?
I started shooting since I was in middle school. I talked about it a couple of my podcasts. I think now what's inspiring me to today, right? Because we always talking about what inspired you to get here. What inspires me today, I think, is other creatives like yourself. I feel like in the industry of like creative world, Instagram, TikTok, right? I feel like in the creative world, a lot of people are judgmental about social media and not taking it serious. Like they see us doing it, and it's just like when I see people like, you know, like you doing it, making money off of social media, it inspires me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a real thing. So I think right now, and as of now, you know, you guys inspire me. I don't know if you get that a lot, like, oh, like social media, like, why are you on social media? It's dumb,
all the
it's
time.
stupid.
My fiance.
Yeah? Oh no.
I mean, he supports me and everything like that, but every once in a while he's like, babe, like, you know, like at this point, like it's so saturated, AI is gonna take over and X, Y, and Z, and I'm just like, you don't mean it.
Yeah,
it
wow.
makes me happy.
You know, it's funny because like my partner like could be very like critical as well, and it's just like, I guess that's normal. Like it pushes us in some sort.
Yeah, it pushes me harder because I'm just like, I'm going to prove you wrong. Like for example, like when I started doing my OF, my OnlyFans, like he was just like, there's no way that like, you know, like why would anyone pay for that? Like that's why there's like free content out there. And now 3 years later, he's just like, all right, like it's coming through.
See, I don't know who's watching. But like, I don't even know what I can say here, but I feel like every couple like goes through that question. Like, are you okay with me doing OnlyFans? I think girls like to ask their man, like whether or not, you know, like, are you okay with me?
I didn't ask for permission. I just did
No, it's just, I'm doing it and you're going to deal with it, right? Like, yeah. And in this world, it's very interesting because in this world, it's like a lot of women who are like their own boss. They're very direct. They go with the mentality of like, I don't need no man in this world and stuff like that. Like you're a go-getter. I feel like you can support yourself. So in of times like this, I have a good question for you. How did you find love?
I wasn't looking for love.
No,
I was not looking for love.
Love found you. Oh
Love
my
found
God,
me.
cheesy. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
It's so cheesy. Yeah. I wasn't looking for love. Like I was real, I'm still young. I'm about to be 30 this year. But I was like, when I was in my early 20s, having like all this disposable income and being exposed to a very sexualized environment, I kind of accepted the fact that I wasn't going to date seriously, because have heard it before from not just customers, but from even regular guys, and telling me like, why would it take a girl like that seriously? So I kind of just accepted the fact. And then, that year that I met my fiance, literally every weekend I was going on a date. Like whether it was a dinner date or whether it was like a party or whether it was meeting you in an after hours, I was always meeting someone new. So it was just by chance that I met him.
Yeah. So what makes the fiance different?
He's very consistent.
He's very consistent.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah.
He's not hiding another family and like, because most men do, right?
That's another story.
Oh shit! You know what? We probably should have filmed the wedding first and then talked on the podcast. Like, but anyways, that's amazing. But you found love, you know, and it's just like in a world like this, like I was telling you, like there's, like love is like unique now. Like, where do you find love? Where do you find loyalty? Because along with consistency, it's like,
it's also with actions too. Like for example, like when we went on our first date, I took him to the club, and that's how I told him that I was dancing.
At the club?
Yeah, I took him to the Jet.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was his reaction?
We went to a bar. So he really wanted us a date, and I told him I cannot meet you on the weekends. I have to only meet you on weekdays, because I'm not going to give out my weekends for like a date. Like that's not going to happen. I lose money there. Yeah. So
boss lady, dude, my money comes first.
And so what ended up happening was that he asked me, hey, what are you doing Friday night? And I said, oh, well, I'm going out to a bar, and then after that I'm going to the Jet Strip. So, and he said, well, let me meet you up there. I'll buy you a couple drinks. And I was just like, hell yeah, I'm not gonna say no to that. So we met at the bar, and then when we drove to the Jet, I told him, well, I'll meet you inside, because I'm gonna go in the back and you need to go to the entrance. He's like, well, why do you have to go to the back?
He said that?
Yeah. And I was like, well, because I work here.
So when you said Jet Strip, what did he think? Like,
he was so confused. He's like, the Jet Strip, like the club at Torrance.
Like what? Like, okay, he just went with it.
Yeah. So then after that, he was just like, oh, okay, like, all right, you dance, that's cool. And then I didn't want to see him again, most likely because I was embarrassed, because
you were like pushing him away.
Yeah, I just didn't. Yeah, I was just like, I'm like, how weird. Like, I brought this random guy like to my place of work. Like,
it's like the number one rule, right?
I know, exactly. And so, but he really wanted a second date, so he would just like come every Friday and bought me dances. And he really, really wanted the second date. So I told him like, hey, you know what? Like, you've been coming here for a couple weeks. You really want the second date? Let's just go out. And then after that, it's been like that ever since.
Wow. So how long has it been?
Like 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years? Yeah. Wow. That's nice. That's nice. I really love what you said one day on Instagram. I honestly feel like you're a good influencer. Like, a lot of people get on there and they buy fake followers and everything, and they're on Instagram and they believe to be like influencers. But I honestly feel like recently you talked about a situation you had, and I think you solved it using social media, right? Or
what did I do?
I just feel like, you were talking about how like you had a situation about like not getting paid, or
yeah, definitely. So what happened is that so what I hate all the comment that I hate the most is when people tell me you need to go get a real job.
Oh, let's talk about it.
You need to go get a real job, because being an influencer is not a real job. Being a YouTuber is not a real job. Being an adult entertainer is not a real job. So I did what I was supposed to do socially. I got my college degree. I went to go get a corporate job. I climbed the corporate ladder. I became friendly with big people within the industry that I'm in, the finance industry. And what recently happened is that my last place of work, are strong allegations of like some white collar crime. And of course, for me,
okay, you don't have to talk about it. I'm like, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
Like, yeah, but like there's it went really bad, and I didn't get paid. I got paid late, and so what ended up happening was that I was just really fed up with like the whole situation that I was in, because I was like, look, I haven't danced in over 3 months. I'm about to get married. I'm doing everything that society is telling me to do. And yet, like, I'm in this situation that I never thought that I would be in a professional setting.
It's like, whoa, like a wake-up call, right?
Yeah. So I was just like kind of telling people, like, at this point, like, it doesn't matter what I do for work, whether it's, like socially acceptable or not.
It takes a tough person to be on social media, because it's like all those, like, everything that they're throwing at you, like, go get a real job and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, they think, like, we don't want to make it known that they're not hurting us, right? Yeah. We want to make it seem like you guys are not hurting us, whatever. But it does. We're only human at the end of the day, and we want to prove them wrong. So I'm guessing that's what you did. You're like, all right, well, I'll show you. And most of all, like, I'm going to do this for myself, to prove myself that I'm worthy of a corporate job. I'm worthy of a real job.
Yeah.
So as you're like, now you go onto this venture, and then you find yourself, getting a corporate job, getting a good job, and now you're there like, dude, what am I doing, or what? Like,
yeah, no, and it's exactly where I'm just like, what the heck did I just, like, what situation am I in? Yeah. But the good thing about it is that what I can say is that not only am I a strong individual to have self-awareness that, like, hey, I'm in a really bad situation, I need to leave, but also that I have the resources to do it. Like, that same day when I, like, when I left my office, that same evening, I went back to the club and I made my money. I made my money to put me through the week.
Okay, I was gonna ask you the typical question, but I think I'll go the other way. What's the least amount of money you made in one night?
The least amount?
Yeah.
My minimum wage was just like $50.
So $50 like the hour that you were there, or like $50 the whole night?
The whole night.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, $50 is not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
Just do nothing?
Yeah.
To just be there and be pretty, it's easy.
Man. Do you think women have it easier than men?
It depends on what type of circumstances you put a woman or a man into. Like, for example, like the adult entertainment industry, of course, like, females are always going to do a lot more better. But if you put like a woman within like the auto industry or like machinery or engineering or science, it's a little bit harder.
I actually have an interesting story, as we're kind of like coming to an end, but I have an interesting story. One night I got off of work. I used to get off at like 2, 3 in the morning, right? And I got to my car and my tire was flat. And I'm like, damn, like, what am I going to do? I said, you know what? I'll just take an Uber home, and then I'll call AAA tomorrow. I'm tired, I'll come back tomorrow with AAA so they can replace the tire or whatever. I get into an Uber late at night in the back seat, start making conversation with this guy. Like, hey, what do you do for a living? He's just like, oh, I'd rather not say because, we're in a professional setting. I'm your driver. I said, no, I'm pretty open-minded, dude. Just tell me. Like,
man.
And he's just like, oh, well, I'm kind of in the industry, like filming industry. And I'm like, oh, yeah, me too. I'm like, me too. He's just like, oh, like, yeah, but kind of like a specific industry, like, and I'm just like, no, like, just tell me, dude, like, why are you acting all weird? And he's just like, oh, well, I'm in the adult entertainment industry and I film. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And he's just like, yeah. And I'm just like, so how much do they pay for something like that? I say, right? Like, I'm just wondering. And he's just like, well, actually, like, he started changing it up. He's like, well, actually, I'm just a recruiter. And, and they pay pretty well. Like, he's just like, are you interested? And I'm like, oh, no. Like, what do you mean? Like, no, I'm not interested. I'm just asking questions. He's like, are you sure you're not interested? And at that point, I've never felt so fucking, like, weird. Because I'm in the backseat of this dude's car at 3 a.m. He's just like, are you sure?
Imagine
like,
if that was a girl.
And then, like, I see him, like, right. That's what I thought about. I'm like, that's what I tell my coworkers when I'm making like fun of the situation. I'm like, bro, it was funny, but not funny because I'm a dude.
Yeah.
So could you imagine a woman in that situation? And then like you could see them like in the mirror looking at you. And then as he's looking at me, he's just like, well, I mean, you look pretty good looking. We could definitely get you on like an like, and I'm like, nah, man.
Throwing
like,
his pitch.
Yeah, I'm like, nah, dude. I'm just like, I'm a family man, right? And he's just like, oh, we got a lot of family men. I'm like, dude, no, like, stop, chill the fuck out. Like, that shit was a weird experience. It was funny, but yeah, I have that. Is there anything you want to say on the podcast now that we have you in the podcast? Beautiful setting, beautiful setup.
Yeah,
awesome guest.
I just want to say like, the only thing I want to say is make good choices, be a good role model, and have fun.
Thank you. You guys, if you guys want to see Holiday again on the podcast, please let me know. I feel like this was a good warm-up. I feel like we could definitely have her back. And then maybe even the fiance, maybe if he wants to come on the show and we can talk about the wedding that we're looking forward to. It's going to be a unique wedding. It's going to be a beautiful wedding, beautiful venue. So Rick Productions has to deliver. My team has to deliver. You heard that, guys? Nah, I'm just kidding. Thank you, Holiday, for taking time out of your day coming here.
Oh, anytime.
And I really appreciate you. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.